Okie dokie. How exciting. It's Chris from IELTS Daily. I am here with a surprise live class. Who is excited? You're not going to see me today because it's a surprise class. I'm going to do a free writing session. We are going to write an essay together, and it's going to be a full essay. And we're going to finish that in 40 minutes, just like in the test. So if you don't have time today, make sure you come back and watch this video because it's going to be really useful. I know that many of you really benefit from the sessions that we have where we write essays together. We're going to brainstorm some ideas. And the question that we have today is actually a question that somebody has recently seen in the test, and they've tried to remember what they saw and put it together. So how exciting. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to come along and let them join us and welcome them. Who's in the chat today? Hi to Hasu from Myanmar. Hello to Sanita. Hi to Deep. Hello to Tao. Great to have you all on board today. Tell me where you're from, and then we will get started very soon. We'll just wait about a minute or so that we can have a few more people coming along. As I mentioned, it's a surprise class today, which is very exciting, and hopefully I'll be sharing some of the knowledge that I have about writing, particularly with task 2 with the essay. Many of you find it really difficult to do the essay, and what I want to do is put myself under a bit of pressure, because I know that in the test it's a very, stressful situation. We've got 40 minutes to complete the test. So I want to do that with you, and I promise I have not prepared myself for this test. I've seen the question, but I haven't prepared myself for the question. Who else has come along today? Hello to Saida, hello to Eman. Good to have you all. Hello to Softyard from Uzbekistan. Hello to Kushbu from India. Fabulous to see so many of you joining today. I think we should start, should we? Let's not waste our time. Let's kick off and let's begin. So the first thing that we should do is note that in the corner of the screen, you should see just here. I'm flashing it now. That's the timer, and we're going to set ourselves a timer so that we only have 40 minutes. Hopefully won't have to go over 40 minutes, because in the test you really do only have 40 minutes so that you can finish your essay. Okay, I'm going to start go on the timer, and that will give us, just like in the test, the exact time we need. Here we go. You can see the timer is now running here. You can see that. Great. Okay, let's see what we have in store today. The first thing obviously that we need to do is think about the question. Oh, by the way, I should say, if you like this type of video and if you learn something from it, please give a thumbs up or like the video and share it and so that other people can see it. Great. The question prompt says, nowadays the eating habits of people around the world are changing, causing many health problems including obesity. It's true. Why do people tend to eat so badly? What can be done to improve eating habits? So ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we should note that this is actually a two-part question. And so we need to really identify that the first important question is, why do people tend to eat so badly, and what can be done? So what are the solutions? All right. And really, really, really importantly, you have to be able to address both of those questions so that you can get full marks in your task response. You have to address both parts. Right. Obviously, the first thing that we need to do is always, always, always to plan. And I used to have a saying in English: planning prevents poor performance, which is PPPP. So if we plan, we know that we can do better in our tests. So we have to make sure that we have a plan. I tend to use kind of a table format. So I'll put a table in here and we can think about the reasons why, and we can think what can be done. So we have to always go back and think, what is the question asking us to do? And so let's read the question again. Nowadays, the eating habits of people around the world are changing, causing many health problems, including obesity. Why do people tend to eat so badly? And what can be done? Maybe if you have any of your own ideas, please put them in the chat. I won't have much time to look at your ideas today in the chat, but it's always really nice for you to share your ideas. Please feel free to put those in the chat. So I suppose the question of why. Why do people eat so badly? I suppose one of the reasons today is that time is limited. So people work more, people cook less for themselves, and they tend to eat more fast food. Okay? It's not always the case for every country and every culture, but I think that's becoming more common, that people are eating more processed food which comes in a packet. It's because we are working more, and this processed food tends to be more convenient. Maybe is it more convenient to buy something in a packet, or is it more convenient to buy the raw ingredients? That could be something that we think about in the answer when we're writing our response. Are there any other reasons why people tend to eat so badly? Maybe. I think maybe it could be this idea of globalization, so that we have these large brands which these are all just ideas at the moment, advertisements for example, large chocolate companies or large drinks companies. A good example might be Pepsi or Coca-Cola. They can afford to advertise to people, and this is like the large brands are able to influence different people that maybe they wouldn't normally be able to influence. And so it becomes normal, and it becomes part of life, and it becomes, if they can reach children at school, these children can think that eating, processed food is normal. So I think that's maybe a couple of ideas that we have there. So we're talking about the eating habits, and the first reason is because for me it's about time. People today tend to work more, we are cooking less, we're eating more fast food because it's maybe more convenient. Is this fast food more processed? Yes, it is, and this is causing certain diseases like obesity, and we could even put some ideas there, some diabetes, etc. And so that's maybe my first idea. And then another idea that I have is about globalization. And the globalization is kind of the influence of large brands, or we could even put large corporations. These people have the power to advertise, and it becomes a great influence on people. It becomes normal. Young people, children are exposed to, I think if we put that there, exposed to these large brands, so it becomes normal to eat processed food and eat fast food. So these are some of the reasons why. Maybe we'll think of some more reasons as we go along, but I'm pretty happy at the moment that we're getting somewhere close to having a plan for our first paragraph or first couple of paragraphs. And remember that the organization of your ideas, we have to think about that when we do our essay. We do really have to think about how we organize our ideas. Great. And so I suppose we've spent the first 7 minutes planning our first couple of paragraphs, which is fine. And then we've got the part of the question which we should not forget, which is what can be done. Okay, so if we say that time is limited, we're working more, cooking less, eating more fast food, more processed food, what can be done to solve that? I mean, this is a very extreme measure. Governments can limit or regulate the number of hours people are allowed to work, but I think that would be really difficult to implement, which means that people would be limited to X number of hours per week, meaning that they can spend more time at home, cooking for themselves. I think that's it's quite an extreme measure. Probably a better way for us to think about this is maybe the idea of education and teaching people the value of home cooked or well prepared food. That could be something that we think about. And what about if we think about kind of regulation of corporations, because we talk in the second part about globalization and about large brands. What if we regulate these corporations? What if we say to them that, maybe for example, limits on advertising to children or to young people? Because if the government says you need to limit the advertising to children, maybe that could be something that we that addresses this problem of advertising and exposing children to processed food. So we've got some ideas there now, and I suppose what I need to do is to think about the structure of my essay. And this is a why and what can be done. The what can be done to improve eating habits, it's not necessarily solving this. It says, why do people tend to eat so badly, and what can be done to improve eating habits? There is some sort of link there, but it's not saying, for example, why does this happen and what can be done to solve this. So what I would probably do for my structure is to think, obviously I'm going to have my introduction. I'm going to have my body paragraph 1, which might be about the why, reason 1, and that's reasonable. Then I might have a body paragraph 2, which might be my why, reason 2. And body paragraph 3 could be what can be done to improve eating habits. I feel like that in my essay I have kind of a better ideas for my whys. I have 2 really clear ideas here. Okay? And for my what can be done to improve eating habits, I feel like that would be probably fitting more together as just maybe one paragraph. I'm going to see how I go, but something that is critically important, really, really, really important when you're doing your essay, and we should always go back to our task response, which is, do I answer the question? Do I cover all parts of the question? And for my coherence and cohesion. This is basically, does my essay flow? Do I link ideas? So do I link sentences together? Spelling. Do I link paragraphs together? Is there a good flow? And finally, do I have one central topic in the paragraph? And we can help ourselves here by using topic sentences. Topic sentences will give the reader an idea of what the topic is going to be within the paragraph. What time are we on now? We're on 12 minutes and 25. So we've got about 28 minutes still to go. So I've got plenty of time, but I do need to start writing soon because we do need to make sure that we plan at the beginning. Okay, now it's the hard part. So the introduction is going to be paraphrasing the question. Okay, let's see how we go here. So we've got ideas of eating habits. People are changing, causing many health problems. By the way, if I go quiet, it's because sometimes it's hard for me to think and talk at the same time, and I hope that that's not going to be problematic for you. People today tend to eat fewer or tend to eat more processed and packaged food rather than home-cooked natural dishes. This is affecting the health of those who eat. This is affecting overall human health and is causing issues such as diabetes and obesity. Okay, let's see if we're getting on the right track here. People today tend to eat more processed and packaged food rather than home-cooked natural dishes. This, and I'm just going to highlight this here because this is an example of referencing. Referencing is really important in your coherence and cohesion. You're basically saying that this is talking about the tendency. It's not repeating an idea. So we're using referencing words, and that's something that you have to do within your coherence and cohesion mark. This is affecting overall human health and is causing issues such as diabetes and obesity. I find that the main reasons for such a shift are the time pressures of contemporary life, as well as corporate global influence, and to solve this, I feel governments should do more in terms of regulation and education. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. What I'm trying to do here is not make my introduction too long, and it probably feels just a little bit long at the moment. I might come back a bit later and I might fix this up a little bit. What I'm saying is I find, and I'm summarizing my ideas here, What I'm not doing is saying, this essay will look at why and what can be done. I'm just being a little bit more sophisticated, and I'm summarizing my ideas at the very beginning so that the reader, the examiner, is going to have a better idea of where my essay is going. This is basically something called my thesis. This is what I am going to argue in my essay. I find that the main reasons for such a shift are the time pressures of contemporary life, as well as corporate global influence. And that's what we said over here. So I've basically summarized these 2 points here. I hope that makes sense. And then what I've said is, to solve this, I feel governments should do more in terms of regulation of corporate regulation and education. Good. So that's a summary of where my essay is going. And what I want to do is now think about my body paragraph number 1. If possible, maybe leave a space between each paragraph so that we have a good idea of where your essay is, or what your next paragraph is going to do. The principal reason for a change in global diet seems to be related to how busy people are nowadays. So what you'll see here is that I'm actually using something called a topic sentence, and what I'm doing is summarizing what the problem is. And for me, the main issue, or the principal reason, seems to be how busy people are. You know, we're working much more nowadays, and we have less time to spend at home. More people are going out and working, and this is causing us to have less time, and sometimes we have to buy things which are processed food. Okay. I'm going to support my idea now. In the past, it was commonly the case that one member of the family would stay at home to do the cooking, very often with natural and raw ingredients. Today, however, I have found that in my country, both men and women seem to be working longer hours and as such have less time to devote to cooking healthy meals. Sometimes I even find myself buying some processed food when I do not have the time to cook a healthy alternative. Okay, so that this whole topic here is about the idea of time. And what you'll notice there is that you can very much use I in the essay. The essay asks you to use examples from your own knowledge or experience. I just want to look at this one again and see whether we have extended and supported and used some different grammatical features in the paragraph. Let's go again. The principal reason for a change in global diet, global diets maybe, either or, it doesn't really matter, seems to be related to how busy people are nowadays. seems to be related to. So this is an example of grammatical complexity. I've not used a simple sentence here, I've used a complex sentence. In the past, it was commonly the case, so I've used an impersonal sentence here. It was commonly the case that. So this is an impersonal sentence, and we're showing that we have good grammatical flexibility here, that we've got different grammatical complex sentences. In the past, it was commonly the case that one member of the family would stay at home to do the cooking, very often with natural and raw ingredients. Today, however, notice here that I've used however in the middle or inside the sentence. Some people would often say however today, but what we're doing here is by using the however between brackets, we are emphasizing the idea of the contrast. Today, however, I have found that in my country, both men and women seem to be working longer hours and, as such, have less time to devote to cooking healthy meals. Sometimes I even find myself buying some processed food when I do not have the time to cook a healthy alternative. So this whole topic, and this is really important for your coherence and cohesion, the whole topic is about time or lack of time. By the way, just my request here, if you are learning something today, please give a like on this video. It really helps me. We're now at 23 minutes, so I've still got 17 minutes left for us to go on with the rest of this particular essay, which is good. I'm feeling confident. Just going to change all this back to black, and here we go. Now the next paragraph, let's go to where we were. We said that globalization, large brands, corporations, advertisements, children. Okie dokie. Let's have a look. Advertisements and corporate influence are another reason why people are tending to choose more unhealthy foods today. Large global organizations have millions of dollars to spend on trying to reach young, impressionable people. So impressionable people are people who are easily influenced. So maybe that's a new word for you. Trying to convince them to eat cheap processed food. So notice here that this is a long, complex sentence, and I'm showing some complexity here. We've used this comma, and we've created a new clause, trying to convince them to eat cheap processed foods. You will find So this is going to get a little bit hard now. Let's go and have a look what I've written here. You will find, we've said trying to convince them to find cheap processed food. And I'm just going to explain what I mean. You will find fast food companies in almost every large city around the globe with a strong advertising presence in these places, often with huge billboards that try to entice, that try to attract, is another word there. So the word entice means attract young people. Because of this, okay, and we're just summarizing and explaining why we're eating badly. Because of this, it is becoming increasingly common for these young people to cook less at home. It's just a bit of a conclusion sentence. So we've got two big paragraphs here, and I wonder whether we should be writing so much. I'm just going to check what the overall word count is at the moment. I might have to. So we're at 260 altogether, and we still haven't answered the third part of the question, which is about what can be done. So we might be just going a little bit too long here. I don't recommend writing really more than 350 words. You can, but I don't recommend it. And we've got 11 minutes left. So let's see. In order to solve this issue, solve the issue of, let's go. In order to solve the issue of changing diets, I feel that governments could do much more in terms of regulation and education. Firstly, I think more pressure needs to be put on regulating large corporations against advertising to young people, so that they are not influenced by fast food. Secondly, investment in food education at school could be another great initiative or idea. Teaching children to cook healthy, natural foods will surely be a benefit to them in the long term. So what I've done here is I've put everything in one paragraph, but I have got a topic sentence which really highlights what the paragraph is about. In order to solve the issue of changing diets, I feel that governments could do much more in terms of regulation and education. So there's my topic sentence. Firstly, I think more pressure needs to be put on regulating large corporations against advertising, regulating them from advertising to young people, so that children, I can't say they because they might be corporations. Be careful with referencing, so that children are not influenced by fast food. Secondly, investment in food education at school could be another great initiative. Teaching children to cook healthy, natural foods will surely be a benefit to them in the long term. Now we've got just about 8 minutes left, and I want to just make a short conclusion. In conclusion, as we become a more globalized society, diets are changing due to limited time and influence of large corporations. So I've summarized it again. In order to solve and prevent this issue, it is my view that governments need to address this by imposing new regulation and improving food education, I'd say, food education. Let's see where we're at. We've got about 7 minutes left, and what I want to do now is just talk to you about what this essay, what the features are, and what it could potentially score in a test. So word count 387. It's probably just a little bit long. And I know that you guys wouldn't have time to do this in the real test. You might do. So what I might do is trim it down just a little bit. People today tend to eat more processed and packaged food rather than home-cooked natural dishes. This is affecting overall human health and is causing issues such as diabetes and obesity. We do need to paraphrase the question, so I don't think we can paraphrase it much more than that. I find that the main reasons for such a shift are the time pressures of contemporary life as well as corporate global influence. To solve this, I feel governments should do more in terms of corporate regulation and education. So there is the summary of my essay. I've summarized it as much as I can there. Okay? Now the first idea, and we've got 5.5 minutes. The principal reason for a change in global diet seems to be related to how busy people are nowadays. In the past, it was commonly the case that one member of the family would stay at home to do the cooking, very often with natural and raw ingredients. Maybe we can possibly remove that. Maybe. Today, however, I have found that in my country both men and women seem to be working longer hours and as such have less time to devote to cooking healthy meals. Sometimes I even find myself buying some processed food when I do not have the time to cook a healthy alternative. You could remove that, but it does add to the question. The question asks for your own personal experience. Advertisements and corporate influence are another reason why people are tending to choose more unhealthy foods today. Large global organizations have millions of dollars to spend on trying to reach young, impressionable people, trying to convince them to eat cheap, processed food. We could remove that part as well, but it does add some grammatical complexity. You will find fast food companies in almost every large city around the globe with a strong advertising presence in these places, often with huge billboards that try to entice young people. Because of this, it's becoming increasingly common for these young people to cook less at home as they get older. In order to solve the issue of changing diets, I feel that governments could do much more in terms of regulation and education. Firstly, I think more pressure needs to be put on regulating large corporations from advertising to young people so that children are not influenced by fast food. Secondly, investment in food education at school could be another great initiative. Teaching children to cook healthy, natural foods will surely be a benefit to them in the long term. In conclusion, as we become a more globalized society, diets are changing due to limited time and influence of large corporations. In order to solve and prevent this issue, it is my view that governments need to address this by imposing new regulation, could be regulations, regulation could be both, and improving food education. We still have 3 minutes to go. Does anybody have any questions? I realised that was quite a long essay today. I don't normally write essays that long, but it was a topic which was filled with lots of ideas. Does anybody have anything they want to ask me from the chat? Let's bring the chat up to see if anybody is gonna... Let's see if anybody wants to ask me any questions. Anybody? Somebody was asking about whether it's the difference between general or academic. They're both the same, really. The essay for both of them are pretty much the same. Joseph says, should the example always be personal? Well, the question always asks you, use examples from your own knowledge and experience. So they don't always have to be personal, but you can use them if you want. Mike Palmer says, what's the difference... Mike Palmer, that's from 24. What's the difference between cohesion and coherence? Can you give an example from writing you've just done? Not really. Cohesion is basically the linking between words, paragraphs and sentences. Coherence is about whether the overall essay flows. How much score for this, Anshika? I would hope it would be a 9. Word like government and regulation, will it count individually? Let's see if I've repeated the words. No. Anybody else? I think we've got 40 seconds left. Somebody was asking how to make complex sentences. Complex sentences, who's that? That was Premanch. How to make complex sentences. Well, complex sentences don't have to be too difficult. You could think about complex sentences. If you can have a which sentence, if you can have an if sentence, if you can have a sentence with an ing function, like we did up here, which was, where did we have it? I've lost it. It was enticing. No, it was ing. I've lost it. Sorry. I could just search for ing. Nope. Anyway, if I find it, I'll find it. But yes, you can use an ing form. You can use a that sentence, which shows subordination. All of those different types would be considered complex sentences. Manav says, can you put two first ideas in your first body paragraph? You can, but it would make a very long paragraph. And for your coherence and cohesion mark, you need to have one central topic in your body, in your paragraph. How many complex sentences should I use? A variety. Doesn't say how many. Is it possible to cross out sentences that we don't want to have after? Yes, you can. Is it okay to put fake surveys or reports? No, do not. Thank you very much for coming along today. I really, I'm sorry that it was a surprise class. It's nice to see everybody. I will try and post this essay so that you can download it on the IELTS Daily website. I might not have time to do it today, but if you just go over to IELTSdaily.com and you can download it from there. Thank you very much to you all. Wonderful. Take care of yourselves, and we will See you in future classes.